Thank you all for joining. My name is Erica Pena. I'm a customer success manager here with Flosum. We put together a webinar today to kind of explore data migration with Flosum. As most of you are aware, this is one of our products in our Flosum suite of products. Wanted to explore a little bit, a high-level overview, functionality, common use cases, and best practices, and then get some questions as well from our attendees on how you're currently utilizing and any issues that you're currently seeing, so we can kind of explore further and help you to optimize utilizing this tool to the fullest. We are going to be doing a couple of polls today. Now, unfortunately, due to functionality, we weren't able to set up the polls as we normally do, where you'll be able to select from a multiple choice answer on the screen. What we will do instead is you can utilize the chat option to answer the polls if you would like. The Q&A section is also on for the chat. So we will actually be answering questions after the webinar. If you have questions at any time, please submit those in the chat. We'll be monitoring all of those, and either myself or your dedicated customer success manager will reach out to you directly. If you presently do not have a customer success manager, if you were not presently signed on with Flosum's Data Migrator, someone from our client partnership team will reach out to provide you some more information, and we can possibly look at setting up a demo if needed. As I mentioned, we will be recording and providing a recording of this meeting 24 hours after the call is completed. It may be available sooner. If it is, we will reach out to you directly. Make sure you submit all questions in the chat. And again, these will be answered after the webinar. All right, so let's dive in here. Wanted to go over kind of a high-level overview of Data Migrator functionality. So one of the most important things to note is that our platform, just like our release management platform and our data backup and recovery platform, is that it is built natively on Salesforce. And we pride ourselves on that. This actually will assist with as far as making sure that we have a secure environment, third-party servers are never used, and your data stays 100% secure within Salesforce. With the capabilities of Data Migrator, you can easily manage and deploy data. You can move data between orgs and parent-child relationships. We have sandbox seeding, upstream migration, CPQ data deployment, and a lot more. So easy to manage. It never leave Salesforce. You can find more information on our customer success portal. I do want to make note that this slide deck will be shared as well. So there are a few hyperlinks in here that lead to various articles within our knowledge base, information on where to set up demos if you are presently not using Data Migrator, and we can kind of go from there. Now, what exactly does native to Salesforce mean? This means, as I mentioned earlier, that your information never leaves the Salesforce platform. So we can move data directly from your source org to the target org without any third-party applications. Now, by avoiding the use of intermediary platforms, this data is moved directly from the source org to the target, and ensuring your data is safe and secure, which is really big deal if you're currently utilizing any platforms outside of Salesforce, or if you're using a sandbox where information is not presently encrypted. Now, to understand your migration process, there are a couple of things that you should ask yourself when putting the information together. One would be, are your developers needing access to real data from your production environment? And how long is your migration process currently taking? What does your migration process currently look like? So our Flosum Data Migrator can help reduce the time needed to spend on reviewing active workflows and triggers. In addition, it automatically takes into account parent-child relationships, and that helps reduce the risk of additional bugs during UAT and production environments once a fix is deployed. These are the types of questions that we're wanting to know as far as utilization. Some of you are already utilizing our Data Migrator platform, and we want to look to optimize usage. What are the current issues that we're seeing within Data Migrator? Is your team duplicating efforts in any area, and are there ways that we can automate that? So asking yourselves these questions and presenting these to your customer success manager will help us to kind of dive into your overall process so we can identify those gaps and identify best practices for moving forward, maybe even review some new features that your team hasn't been presently utilizing in the past. One thing that I would like to note is that we are actively making enhancements to our Data Migrator product. You can be expecting to see those, I would say, within the next quarter. If you'd like more information on what you can expect, you can set up a meeting with your customer success manager and an implementation engineer, and we can definitely dive into what you can be expecting in the next 3 to 6 months. Now, for common use cases with Data Migrator, typically what we see, of course, is migrating data from any different orgs, which will essentially migrate relational data from lower sandboxes to higher sandboxes. And this is the most common use cases. You also have an opportunity to develop your application on real data. So essentially, you can populate sandboxes with realistic fictional data for safer test environments and better results. As well, data masking. So we do have a need for compliance. Some of you have compliance needs where we need to mask some of this sensitive information. So support and privacy compliance are provided by actively anonymizing all sensitive data inside non-production environments. If you are needing information on how the data is masked, I know that some organizations require documentation for compliance purposes to ensure that data is encrypted. So if you need information on how to confirm data is encrypted, you should contact your customer success manager. Typically, we'll have to document this on an as-needed basis for companies, but we can provide that information if it is needed. One thing I would also like to note here, for data masking purposes, if you are in need of any compliance documentation, we like to note kind of at the beginning of the year when we do our objective outlines with each of our clients, when you have audits throughout the year, and this will kind of help us prepare beforehand so you're not waiting last minute for that information to be created or sent over to your procurement team. And now one thing that we would like to know a little bit further is, what is your current use for Data Migrator? Are you utilizing it for data migration, sandbox seeding, CPQ data deployment, applications and settings? If you presently don't utilize our Data Migrator, if you could input within the chat what you are looking to possibly get out of this product. And that will kind of help us dive a little bit more. And when we set up demos or follow-up calls to either explore ways to optimize your usage further or get you set up on the platform, we can kind of cater that demo to your specific needs. I'll allow a couple of minutes to let people answer. All right. Okay, so let's move on to support for app exchanges. And you can continue, before we dive into this, you can continue utilizing the chat if you want to drop in there your use case for Data Migrator. We will be reviewing all chat questions and answers and getting back with you directly within this next week. So feel free to put as much information, ask as many questions as possible, and we will definitely get back to you. I do want to note one other thing is that we are going to be looking to maybe dive into another webinar within the next coming month to dive deeper into these use cases. So you may have seen earlier this month email sent out regarding Data Migrator. We did ask to receive questions on use cases. I didn't see too many come through, but that's another reason that we're hosting today is to kind of dive deeper into how your team is looking to utilize this. Now, for those who are unaware, we do provide support for app exchanges. So there are various app exchanges that we can utilize. I did see a number of people within the chat notating the need for Salesforce CPQ. This is a big use case as well. We also can incorporate Viva, Velocity, a number of other app exchanges. So that's one thing to note. If you have questions on an app exchange and limitations with Data Migrator, or how we can essentially set that up with Data Migrator, we can certainly set up a call to dive deeper into your team's specific use cases, answer any questions, and then help you set up from there as well. If you are looking for specifics with custom templates for CPQ, we can also help build those out as well, pending on your own organization's needs. So we do have, I did include here a list of number of different app exchanges. I'm going to turn to another poll here in just a second, just to get some information on what app exchange your team might be currently utilizing. If your team is not currently utilizing one, go ahead and input ones that you are considering. If you do not see it here, go ahead and input as well, and we can certainly get you some more information on capabilities with Data Migrator if we're able to work with that app exchange, and then what that would look like as far as setup from there. And so I'll give everyone a couple of minutes to answer what app exchange you might be utilizing presently or looking to utilize in the future. And I just want to confirm that you can input these answers within the Q&A. I think I mentioned chat earlier, but you can input these within the Q&A. I know chat is disabled. We will get to all of these questions and after the webinar, but that'll be inputted within the Q&A box if you're having any issues finding that. And I'll give it one more minute, see if we get any additional answers on the app exchange question. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. So as far as best practices, there are a few tips that we can look for to ensure a smooth migration process. I've listed a couple here. Now, there are a number of various best practices that we can explore, of course, pending on your own use case. These are typically some of the common issues that we see with users when they're migrating data or utilizing the Data Migrator platform. So these are the ones that I've included here. I'll dive deep into these here in just a second. You can find more information on our customer success portal. We do have a knowledge base article that lists out various best practices for utilizing Data Migrator. And I did include a link to that article here. Like I mentioned, there are a few hyperlinks within this slide deck, and we will try to provide you with this information as well. So let's discuss viewing record counts beforehand. So having this type of information prior to migration can help you prevent from pulling more records than necessary, which can cause your team more time. The record counts within when migrating data, can also cause some storage issues beforehand. So you can avoid running out of space if you view record counts prior to migration. And then that way it allows you to see if you are going to run out of space before actually going through a full migration. Now, refreshing your developer org from production can ensure source and target are the same, and that'll avoid possible migration failures. So one thing that we typically like to inform users to get in the habit of and make this part of your migration process beforehand. Now, before let's say as far as minimizing batch size, I want to give a for instance here. So let's say you are working with objects that have many triggers within the target environment. By minimizing a batch size, you can ensure smoother migrations, and that just will ensure less time, less issues that you run into as well. Now, that's just a for instance. There are a couple of other, use cases for minimizing batch size. That was just a for instance. As far as testing before you migrate, so it's always a good idea to kind of do a dry run sequence beforehand. And this will actually give you information about a number of records that will be migrated in each step. So kind of going back to viewing record counts and knowing when you might be running out of space. It will also ensure you will not retrieve a large amount of number of records before you execute the sequence. And then lastly, I want to go over, where to install within your production environment. So what we typically recommend is that it should be installed within your production org and not in your full data sandbox. And there's a couple of reasons why. So Data Migrator creates templates that need to be moved. So if you're moving these time and time and again, if the full data sandbox is refreshed, those templates will actually be wiped out, which is one of the reasons we recommend production org and not full data sandbox. It also has a built-in validation check. So it does not allow the migration of the data to the same org. So if the Data Migrator is installed in production, it's automatically going to ensure that you're not updating any of the records within your production org. If you have questions on any other additional best practices surrounding your specific use cases, go ahead and insert those within the Q&A, and I'll be happy to provide some more information, or your customer success manager will reach out to you directly to provide some more information. What we are looking to kind of get out of this is a little bit more information on how your team is utilizing some of those common issues that you're running into, and then how we can kind of optimize from there. I will be doing another poll here in just a second to kind of get some more information on some common issues. Let me go ahead and turn to that. All right. And so if you could input within the Q&A any kind of common issues that your team sees with data migration, go ahead and input those, even if it's already one that I've discussed previously. Like I said, some of those will typically be long migrations. If you feel your team is duplicating efforts, if you are consistently seeing failed migration sequences, if your team is having issues with creating custom templates, anything of that nature, anything that you can think of, please input that now. I'll give a couple minutes for that. I am seeing a lot of good information here on what teams are presently seeing. What I will look to do after this is for the email series that we're going to be doing within March is diving a little bit more into these questions and providing some more information on best practices surrounding your specific use cases. And we are almost coming up on time here, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide, but you can go ahead and continue to input within the Q&A section. And we'll be sure to get to that within this next week and provide you some more information. So lastly, I want to go over customer reviews. So we put together this webinar mostly to get some input from our current clients utilizing Data Migrator. I know we do have a couple of people who are on here possibly exploring options to utilize. For both current clients and potential, I would like to encourage you to check out the Data Migrator on the Salesforce Appexchange. We do have a number of customer reviews, and that'll allow you to see how other teams are utilizing Data Migrator. One of the things that I see within calls constantly is clients or users asking best practices on how to utilize Data Migrator. We obviously want to make sure that you're optimizing to the fullest, but given your industry and your organization, there are different ways that teams utilize this. So what we would like to do is make sure that you're provided with as much information as possible to better help you utilize. If you have questions on how other companies within your industry are utilizing Data Migrator, we're happy to provide you with some information and possible references pending on availability, what people are available to give. And so we can certainly look at exploring that further. Another thing I would like to notate is that we are in the midst of putting together some customer roundtables, and that will allow you to kind of talk directly with some other Data Migrator clients on their specific use cases, what best practices are working for their team, and how they've optimized their usage since onboarding. If you are interested in participating in a roundtable discussion, whether it's surrounding Data Migrator or any other of our Flosum functionality, please let us know within that Q&A. And so we can make note of that. Like I said, this is in the midst of being planned. We don't have an anticipated date for this, and that will be for current clients. So if you are interested in that, please let us know, and we'll reach out to you with more information as we continue planning it. And then I did include here as well a link to our customer success portal. This will give you information on troubleshooting tips, knowledge articles, and we have various information as well. There are some training videos in there on utilizing Data Migrator. We do have a previous webinar from about a year back when we did some review of functionality as well. Be on the lookout for more information on all of our Flosum suite of products, an overview of features and functionality and how we can kind of help optimize your usage from there. If you have questions and you would specifically like to see a demo, I have included a link within the slide deck on scheduling a demo directly. If you are a current client with us and you are utilizing Data Migrator and you just want some more information, we are happy to schedule another working session. And that way we can, like I said, identify your current process, identify any gaps, and make sure that we're utilizing to the fullest. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. We will be in touch with you directly to get answered all of these questions. And if you have any other questions, be sure to reach out to us directly on our site, flosum.com. Thank you.